YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with a new episode of Terrible Take Tuesday, taking a look at some of these terrible takes, some bold takes around the NFL world you guys sent in to us via Twitter. Really enjoying the series throughout the offseason here, and we'll have you covered throughout the entire NFL season with all kinds of predictions and more. So if you can subscribe, join us for that. 60K by week one of the NFL. That's our goal. So please help us out. Anybody that's a returning subscriber, appreciate you very much. Yeah, check out that Twitter. That's how you send in your terrible takes that you find. And that is how you kind of get involved with our content even more and more NFL news. We're always talking with you guys on there. And you can check out the podcast as well. Any link that you need for any of those things, down in the description and in the comments. So I'd appreciate it if you can check it out. We got a good episode this week. Starting with the first one here from Cole Snipes. Quarterback rankings here, and we're going to go through, this is actually a two-parter. So there's going to be another page here popping up on your screen that we're going to talk about from Cole Snipes and the same exact quarterback rankings. So, and obviously there's more rankings than just 11 through 20, but some things I wanted to point out. Maybe it's not that terrible. A lot of people seem to be ranking Tom Brady around these parts, 14. I don't know. I just still think he has plenty of good play left in him, even if it's not the same as, when he was elite. I wouldn't be surprised if he played at an elite level this year. I think he still thinks he has something to prove, and that's what makes him the GOAT, too. That's one of the things. Arians' second year, that receiving unit with, including the tight ends, ridiculous. So I think a big year from Brady. I think easily top 10. Just the difference, Brady and Newton, only one splitting them apart. Doesn't necessarily mean this person thinks that they're that close, but I don't know. I don't know about it. Derek Carr can be ranked this high. He can be this good. Just needs to stay way more consistent. Darnold's definitely a little high. I don't know about Darnold ahead of Garoppolo. Just really not on board with that one. So maybe not all sorts of terrible. Maybe just pretty bold. Again, two-parters. So this is the bottom part of their rankings that you can see, 31, 32. We're going to be focusing on 32 here. Joe Burrow, the number one overall pick, one of the best quarterback prospects of all time, really, that good. And they put him at 32. And there's a lot. I've been doing my rankings. We did quarterbacks through tackles so far. We're going to keep going on. And everyone has a different system. And there's people in the comments that don't like me ranking quarterbacks, or not quarterbacks, rookies higher. I think I had Burrow at 17. I know I had him at 17, but and people didn't like that because then they're saying that he has yet to prove something. How could you have him that high? And I understand the argument, but my rankings will be for the 2020 season. And in the 2020 season, Joe Burrow, for an example, will play. So where do we put him? In my opinion, you can't put him at the bottom just because he hasn't proven anything. He hasn't proven anything. Put him at 32. It doesn't make any sense to me. Tyrod Taylor didn't play for the Chargers, and there's a lot of quarterbacks like that didn't play last year. It just doesn't make any sense. To me, it's like, you're kind of contradicting yourself by making your rankings like that. Either make them based on 2019 or make them based on 2020. Not in the middle there, because you put him in the bottom because Joe Burrow didn't play last year. He's not proven. All right, so then don't rank him at all. That's my take on that. For me, it's opinion based on if you want to rank, quarterbacks in general, what they've done, their body of work, or if you want to go 2020 season, which is my system. All that's opinion based. But either do one or the other is my opinion. So I would disagree strongly with putting Joe Burrow at 32 for so many reasons based on talent and I guess based on the system of rankings here. So I just don't agree with that. Thought that was interesting. Next from Tyler Feinstein. This is a good one. This is a real good one here. Looks like an Instagram post. NFL teams by position. So the best at that position. We'll start at the top left here. You start with Chiefs. Get the quarterback one. Okay. At this point, you're questioning, are they considering them the best based on their whole quarterback room or just by their starting quarterback? Here it kind of looks like based on their starting quarterback, but then again, not too many quarterbacks. You only expect one quarterback to play on like other positions in a game, so that makes sense that the Chiefs are there. So then you move on to the Panthers, running back, number one. So this kind of feels like they're basing it off of just their starter, just purely their starter, which if you're ranking the team by position, I would kind of do it as a group. That's my opinion. But that's kind of how you get the feel here, what they're doing. This person's doing. The Saints, same thing. I think there's much better receiver rooms. More teams that want to use more receivers would make more sense if they were better. But Michael Thomas, in my opinion, is the best receiver in football. They do have Emmanuel Sanders as well, so they kind of were leaning towards that. The Niners for tight end, same thing. They don't have the greatest room, but they have the best starter in football there. Eagles offensive line makes sense. Steelers defensive line, I would argue because, I mean, if you're considering T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree part of the defensive line, then okay, but you can argue that. The Cowboys as well. I mean, there's probably better teams, but it's not terrible. But this is where, it kind of gets terrible, is with the Falcons at quarterback. So whether you have it, the starters, sometimes here it thinks they're ranking based on the starters. Sometimes you think they're ranking based on depth or choosing the best team based on depth. It's neither here. The Falcons are probably one of the worst teams in terms of the cornerback position, in the NFL. So that, who we expect the starters to be, A.J. Terrell and Isaiah Oliver, perhaps. They got a couple other guys, but that is interesting. The Jets, I would agree. I would definitely agree with the safety for the Jets there, perhaps, in terms of the entire room. I think if we're basing off starters, I'd probably go the Vikings, but the Jets added Ashton Davis to, along with Jamal Adams and Marcus May, so it's a pretty good room there, and they're going to use all three if Jamal Adams plays. So that's the next question, but yeah, the Falcons one kind of threw me off a little bit there. Next from Cameron Sullivan. A lot of people sent me this. I apologize if I didn't give you the shout out, just the first person that sent this. So multiple people sent a lot of these that we'll see, so I apologize if people expect to see their name. Just the first person. I'm getting a lot of people trying to participate, so that's a good thing. It's a good problem to have there. Laces on Leather seems to make, they're an Instagram account, seems to make the series every week. NFL secondary tiers. So based on the defensive back groups of teams, so safeties combined with corners. Pretty good idea here from them. But I never agree really with having a tier above elite, but that's kind of opinion based. So if you're going to have a tier that's above elite, we're talking above elite, the best of the best, insane, historically good, I guess is the way I would describe it. The only two secondaries that I would even consider putting in, they put clamps, but better than elite, Ravens, Patriots. That's the only two that maybe should be in there. Those are the two best secondaries in football. The Bears have two big-time playmakers, Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller. After that, it feels like they do a little bit of carrying. Jalen Johnson's a great pick. Great pick. Could be a steal. They got Deshaun Gibson, but I would have a hard time even considering them elites because elite's a pretty strong word. You want to be – I don't know if there's enough completeness to that secondary. So I don't know if I would even put the Bears there. The Bills – I would definitely consider them elite probably because they have a really good safety duo. They have Tre'Davious White, kind of weak in the other cornerback spot. Josh Norman could have a solid year, I believe that. I just wouldn't put them in the tier above elite. Steelers, definitely not. I wouldn't really consider them elite either. They played pretty well last year. They were better than expected. I think the pass rush definitely helps them. The front seven helps them out a ton. So I just wouldn't consider them elite even. You look at elite, the Seahawks. This might be the craziest one of all. The Seahawks at elite secondary. Are we basing this off of, the old Seahawks, the Super Bowl run Seahawks, which they could still go on a Super Bowl run, obviously, but with maybe the greatest safety duo of, one of them of all time. And they had Richard with Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas with Richard Sherman at corner, obviously. This is no longer the way it is there. I mean, they're I wouldn't even consider them above average. I put them at the average spot. Packers. Very good secondary. I would have I just don't throw elite around, I guess, as much as people like the same thing with the Titans. Packers, Titans in the same boat, I think. The Saints, most definitely not. Marcus Williams, a good young safety. Malcolm Jenkins is solid. Don't want to say declining, but right around there. The corners definitely struggle a lot, so I'm nowhere near elite for the Saints. The Chargers, I'm good with that one for sure. The Dolphins, I'm okay with above average because the corner group's looking really good. Safety group a little weak though, but I'm okay with it. The rest of these, I think I'm okay. The Vikings are a tough one to rank because they have the best safety duo in football, but their cornerback starters are going to be definitely on the lower end. There actually is a possibility we could see two rookie corners starting for them, even though they got some good prospects. It's a tough team to rank. Yeah, for the most part there, I think it's after that, it's the Cardinals probably could be above average. I think people could be sleeping on them a little bit. The Jets are a tough one too, because just like the Vikings, such a good safety group, a little thin in the corner group. Burnt toast is the bottom tier. I would definitely. I would definitely have to put up the Buccaneers from there. They should not be in there. I think people are basing off, there was several years where the Buccaneers were last in pass defense. It's no longer the case. They got a good group of young corners that are improving, very solid. And the safety group definitely improved with Antoine Winfield as well. Obviously young, obviously still maybe not a whole bunch of expectations. Burnt toast though. I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't know about a lot of these teams, or even the Colts. I don't know if the Colts are burnt toast. Cornerback situation maybe, but I don't know. Interesting one for sure. From Zeke here, Ezekiel Gonzalez ranking the first round picks AFC West edition, and it says there, a little smaller text, based on talent, value, and fit. So they're combining all of that. So it's really not just based on where you ranked him on your big board maybe. So I would disagree with this completely. A lot of people are Justin Herbert guys. I wasn't. So maybe this person's just very high on Justin Herbert. I actually was a little higher on Judy than Ruggs, but those are pretty interchangeable. I just don't know. I just don't know how Ruggs and even Clyde Edwards-Helaire should be below Herbert. I just don't agree, especially because it's talent, value, and fit. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chiefs at 30. That might be the best fit, not the best pick, but the best fit in the entire draft. Have all of the picks, so perfect situation there. I just don't know about Herbert being two. I guess this is maybe it's more bold, maybe it's not terrible, based on maybe my rankings. My fits. Maybe it's kind of borderline terrible there, but it's pretty much opinion based, and that's okay. Next, from Alex Carney, we got offense of tiers here. So team offenses. Elite, Ravens, Chiefs, Saints. I don't really think we can argue with any of that. I think we're all good there. Great. Cowboys, Seahawks, Browns, Niners, Bucks. I mean, you can argue some things here, but definitely looking at the Browns on paper, you probably could expect him here, even though the offensive line got much better. Still worried about the offensive line, but I worry about everything clicking. Conservative offense with Stefanski, which it could work. You got the Vikings in the playoffs, so it definitely should be able to work, but still, conservative offense that doesn't really, get a lot of reps to a variety. That's the word I'm looking for. A variety of players throughout every game. So how is that going to work with these big-time playmakers? So I would be hesitant to put them at great. Solid. Eagles, Broncos, Falcons. Okay, I think we're okay for the most part here. Yeah, I think those are pretty accurate. Looking at average, the Texans got to be better than average. The Texans got to be better than average. Even I'm guilty of it at one point. Everybody's guilty of it. I no longer am, though. They traded DeAndre Hopkins, and people just all of a sudden plummet their idea of the Texans, especially their offense. And that's unfair in my opinion. Should be unfair in a lot of people's opinions. More than just Texans fans, maybe. Deshaun Watson's the key to that team. They have Brandon Cooks, they have Will Fuller, they had David Johnson, even though he's been struggling. Offensive line kind of gets better by default because it's young kind of talent getting put together and finally working as a unit. They should just get better. It's an explosive offense. It's an explosive offense with or without DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, you could definitely make the case that's very understandable that you rather have DeAndre Hopkins. It doesn't make them now an average offense. They at least should be solid. Obviously not elite, but they at least should be solid. Kind of moving on to great. They should be ahead of the Browns. Even the Browns are better on paper, maybe, and the Texans should be ahead of the Browns. The Steelers are better than average in my opinion. If Big Ben gets hurt, then they're not. But I don't know how they're predicting here. I guess the Colts should be. Yeah, it's maybe, I don't know. I'd say they're a little better than average, but I can understand that. Patriots, maybe this was maybe for the Cam Newton thing. I think the Lions are better than average, definitely. As we sit, everyone's healthy. Stafford's healthy. They got a good running back duo there. They got a really good receiver duo. Offensive line, maybe that's the question, but there's a lot of offensive lines that are way worse situations than the Lions. I think the Lions are definitely better than average, too. I definitely put them in solid. Below average, I disagree with the Rams here. Yeah, the Rams took a step down last year. They struggled. Offensive line was pretty poor, especially compared to the year before. Jared Goff played pretty poor compared to the year before, but they still put up points. They got a very good system. The playbook is very solid. They got playmakers still. They don't have Todd Gurley anymore, but they got a pretty good running back duo, Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers. I think, it's nothing crazy, but I think it's a pretty good group. They lost Brandon Cooks, they add Van Jefferson. I don't really think they lost a step there. Too much of a step, considering that Cooper Kupp actually could get better. So I would disagree with the Rams in below average. I would even consider solid. I would probably put them in solid. The Bengals, I don't really agree with below average too. I guess a lot of questions ride on the offense. A lot rides on the offensive line, but Joe Burrow and the town, Joe Mixon, that running back room. Don't forget about Travion Williams too. Last year from Texas A&M, I like him too. They got a good running back group. It's kind of underrated, I think. Nobody talks about. But the receiver group is the obvious. That receiver group is pretty good. I mean, even if AJ Green goes down, they drafted T. Higgins. So I would definitely put them higher. Maybe it's a little bold to put them higher, but I don't know. I don't think it's too bold. Mason at Steel City. Mason here. MVP predictions for each team by NFL.com. A repost here by an Instagram page. So this Instagram page did not. This isn't their decisions. They just kind of reposted a graphic. So pretty cool. But yeah, I think you start to see some bold ones. So the MVP this year prediction. I think Sam Darnold being the MVP for the Jets is bold. I wouldn't call it terrible. It's a little bold. Phillip Rivers for the Colts, maybe a little bold. But then you start, in Bradley Chubb, that's bold. I can see that one. Bradley Chubb is a beast. I can see it, but it's a little bold still. Then you look at the Cowboys. Van Der Esch, that's really bold. We're starting to get, maybe terrible there. And then you see two that, Miles Sanders to me is a bad one. I don't know. Solid young running back, could improve. I just don't see Miles Sanders being their MVP with Carson Wentz. I think a guy like Jalen, maybe I'm getting bold. I think a guy like Jalen Reagor has a better shot maybe than Miles Sanders. Maybe it's a little bold, but I think Reagor's such a perfect fit there. I'm not saying he's going to be their MVP or is going to be, that great right away, but I think you get my point. I think there's guys on defense that definitely can take over. Calvin Ridley for the Falcons, we expect him to step up. We expect him to be good. They're going to throw the hell out of the ball. But Julio Jones, Matt Ryan, I think definitely got him beat. So, maybe this is just, it's maybe borderline. I think it's just really, really bold here. Mason at Steel City again, another one. Looks like a repost for ESPN Top 25 2021 free agents. Pretty cool idea here. And there's definitely things you can question. I would definitely put Ronnie Stanley ahead of Joey Bosa. That's my opinion, though. I'm not saying that's terrible. I would put Kenny Golladay definitely needs to be higher, as in closer. He shouldn't be 1 really, but closer to 1 in my opinion than 13. Definitely too low. Kenny Golladay is a very good young on the rise receiver. And then we move on. We see number 25, Dalvin Cook. I could, maybe it's a little bold, not terrible having him all the way down here because he's one of the better backs in football. You see him, he's pretty even in terms of talent with Kamara, and Kamara's at 8 and Cook's at number 25. So you definitely question that, but he does have the injury, so that's why you kind of give him a pass here. But then what I'm not going to get a pass on is that it's Alexander Mattison pictured as Dalvin Cook there. So that's a fail right there. But I think that has something to do with whoever made the graphic. The graphics get confusing. I make graphics myself. They get confusing sometimes. They're a lot of work. So, but it's kind of funny to point those out there. But definitely an interesting one. You're kind of going back up. I'm a big Jonnu Smith guy. I think he's about to break out. I think he's a really good, underrated athletic tight end. But having him ahead of Kenny Golladay, like I mentioned, Juju Smith-Schuster, Joe Mixon's definitely too low. I forgot to point that. I think Joe Mixon's too low there. Pretty questionable. Interesting stuff. Moving on. Mason is on fire. He made 3, got the trifecta. He's got 3 on the day. This is one of my favorite ones on the day. Top 10 receivers the Ravens play. So somebody took the Ravens schedule, took a look at it. Let's rank the receivers that great secondary has to go against. Pretty cool exercise here. But these rankings are pretty brutal. Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper. Okay, we're good. We're all right there. AJ Green at 3 over Odell Beckham Jr. It's pretty. I think it's terrible, but maybe it's just bold. Maybe they're just banking on AJ Green kind of getting back to form there. Odell hasn't really been struggling, but compared to the Odell that we know the talent that's inside of him, maybe a little bit. And then but then the bad part is Juju Smith-Schuster at 10. We're talking about John Ross ahead of him, or Sammy Watkins is very solid. Deshaun Jackson, even Brandon Cooks and Jarvis Landry. I mean, some of those are extremely bold, I think, kind of terrible. But having a guy like Deshaun Jackson, mainly John Ross, ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster, absolutely wild there. Juju Smith-Schuster much better than that, so interesting. Very interesting, to say the least. Peter, Terry's burner here, 2019 NFL redraft. This is all over the place. This is absolutely all over the place here. So it's the redraft, the 2019 draft. That feels like it just happened. I mean, we know these players, but they still got things to prove, of course. So that's why this is kind of silly to do, but it's kind of fun to do, just for fun. But I mean, Elgton Jenkins looks like he's going to be a starter for some time for the Packers. Looks solid, but number 5 overall. I don't know about that one. Just some of those. Gardner Minshew at 6. He has yet to prove that he's that good. That is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Ed Oliver, having some of those prospects ahead of Ed Oliver, who has a crazy roof. Just having some of those players ahead of him, I think is crazy. Same with DK Metcalf, what he did, having some of those players ahead of him. Dre Greenlaw was more than impressive, better than expected, but I just don't know about that high. Number 11 overall pick, I don't know. Juan Thornhill looked really good. I just don't know about that. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson I think has still things to prove. Obviously, he's going to be good, but that's a bit high there. Man. Hold on. I'm looking through something here. We're probably missing a lot of players that I'm not even realizing here. I'm looking for Devin White. Is Devin White not on here? Yeah, I'm just realizing that. Devin White is not. He's not on here. Interesting stuff. The Buccaneers inside line. So the Buccaneers are going to take Elgton Jenkins. When the Buccaneers' interior offense line is going to be pretty solid, in my opinion, they're going to take Elgton Jenkins instead of Devin White, who very well could become one of the very best inside linebackers and had a fantastic rookie year. Am I blind right now? I don't think. I'm looking through it again as we're recording here. Devin White is not on here. Devin Bush is on there. Pretty similar. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. And we got guys like Dre Greenlaw. We got guys like Bobby Okereke's on here. I know a little different type of linebacker. Drew Tranquil. I like me some Drew Tranquil, but nothing tells us yet that he's should be ahead of some of those guys that are like Deontay Johnson, 32. This is just all over the place. Absolutely wild stuff. The final one of the day from AustinB, Laces on Leather, shows up again. And this is a great example when I include bold ones rather than, in my opinion, rather than terrible. Because I think 90% of the world here will look at this and say this is terrible, but I'm just going to call it bold. Because Josh Allen had a Nick Bosa. I think a lot of people call that terrible. And who do I think is better? Right now it's definitely safe to say Nick Bosa. But Josh Allen is a very, very good pass rusher with a ton of upside, athletic freak. Not that Nick Bosa isn't, but heading into this year, based on this year, maybe this person is just predicting Josh Allen to play better than Nick Bosa this year. Remember, Nick Bosa carried a minor, nothing major, of an injury concern. So this, to me, is just a bold prediction and not a bad one, in my opinion. My prediction, again, would be Bosa, but I think it's just bold. We were kind of just talking about Devin Bush and Devin White. I would have Devin White ahead of Devin Bush. I think it's pretty close, but I would have Devin White ahead, and they're quite a few spots off there. Montez Sweat, to me that's bold. I wouldn't really call it terrible, but he does have to share with Chase Young and Ryan Kerrigan. But it's a guy with a lot of upside, a really good pass rusher. I was very high on him, so it depends on the reps he gets. If he gets a good amount of reps, of course, I think he can be up here. So, yeah, and you could argue that a guy like Drew Lock, being the quarterback position, him being able to step up this year perhaps could be in here. But, yeah, I think this is a pretty good list, I think. I'm not saying I 100% agree with it, and this would be my prediction. But to me, this is just a good, bold prediction here. And I think most people would look at it and say it's downright terrible. I think most people would instantly say it's terrible. But I think it's just some solid, bold predictions. Interesting to look at, though, for sure. But if you want to send in some terrible takes you find from some of these accounts, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, you screenshot it from your television, computer, whatever it may be, you send it in through our Twitter. and that is at Goathouse NFL, link down below. Would appreciate a subscription to both of our channels. More new types of content on the way in the near future, and we got you covered. Thanks for watching. That's going to do it. Goodbye.